Hello, and thank you for joining us today in our study of the book of Psalms. Today we come to Psalm 122, and this is another song of ascents that we've talked about in the last couple of Psalms. And this one is going to be written by David, and it's going to center around coming to the house of the Lord to worship. But he's going to do it in a very poetic way. So let's look at what David has to say in Psalm 122. Beginning in verse 1, we read, I was glad when they said to me, let us go into the house of the Lord. Our feet have been standing within your gates, O Jerusalem. Jerusalem is built as a city that is compact together, where the tribes go up, the tribes of the Lord, to the testimony of Israel, to give thanks to the name of the Lord. For thrones are set there for judgment, the thrones of the house of David. Pray for the peace of Jerusalem. May they prosper who love you. Peace be within your walls, prosperity within your palaces. For the sake of my brethren and companions, I will now say, peace be within you. Because of the house of the Lord our God, I will seek your good. As you look at Psalm 122, you have David who is talking about Jerusalem. And you're going to have this focus being upon Jerusalem. Now remember, in the days of David as king, Jerusalem is going to become the capital of the Israelite nation. But it's also going to become the worship center of the Israelite nation. David is going to bring the tabernacle to Jerusalem. The Ark of the Covenant is going to be brought there, as you read in 2 Samuel. And you're going to see in this particular city everything begin to coalesce for the people of Israel. So, as you read here in Psalm 122, you have David who has made his palace in Jerusalem at this time. You have David speaking of Jerusalem from the standpoint of its level of importance for the Israelite people at this time. But I want you to notice a couple of things about what he says here. First of all, he focuses not just on Jerusalem as a city, but rather as Jerusalem as a place for the Israelites to worship. He says, "Let us go into the house of the Lord. I was glad when they said to me." Now, there's a lot of background to this particular statement that we don't have time to go into this morning, but suffice it to say that David's family has not always been able to say that they could go into the house of the Lord. And so now David is able to do that, and it is something that is very important to him. It is something that is very valuable to him that he does not take for granted. I was glad when they said to me, let us go into the house of the Lord. And so the idea of coming together to worship, he talks about Jerusalem being a city where the tribes of the Lord go up to the testimony of Israel to give thanks to the name of the Lord. The tribes being the various different tribes of Israel, the sons of Jacob in their various houses that are going to all come together in Jerusalem, not just to live or not just to work as far as that goes, but to worship. And that is the purpose of this homage to Jerusalem, is the place of worship that it has become for God. And so as you go through this psalm, David is going to continue toward the end of the psalm by offering up this prayer for Jerusalem. And this prayer is not because there is anything that is inherently more special about Jerusalem than any other city, other than the fact that it is the place where at this time the Israelites come into the house of the Lord. They come into the tabernacle to worship God. When you notice the prayers that he discusses in verses 6 through 8, he talks about the desire for peace to reign within Jerusalem so that they might be able to worship in peace, prosperity within your palaces. And then in verse 8, he says, I will now say, peace be within you. Why? Because the desire is simply to go into the house of the Lord, to have a place where they can peacefully worship God. Certainly, when you look at the dynamics of New Testament Christianity, the emphasis on everybody gathering together in Jerusalem to worship in a particular temple at the house of the Lord doesn't exist any longer. The church is the place where, or is the, as the people come together, wherever they come together is the place where they go into the house of the Lord to worship. The place where they gather is the place where worship is commenced. But at the same time, the desire to be able to meet in peace, and the desire to be able to have this relationship with God that brings joy when we get to go into the house of the Lord, is something that should be equally as special to us as it was to David. These are the things that I see in Psalm 122. Thank you for watching the video today, and I hope that you'll continue to join us in our study through the book of Psalms. Next time we'll come back and we'll begin looking at Psalm 123. I hope you'll join us then. But until then, have a great day.